Step into the paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler, brought to you by Paranormal Inc., right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of Step Into the Paranormal. I'm Dave Seiler.
Ernie Atwell.
Let's see, and this is how to find us right there.
That's our what?
That's how to find us right here.
Oh, I thought you said
no.
that.
I was gonna.
That's the finest.
That's
right
how to,
there.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's the finest. Well, happy New Year to everybody. If our last episode was a little bit depressing and very sad. We said goodbye to a friend.
Yeah.
But this was going to be kind of fun. We have a former guest.
I tell you, I've been really looking forward to this guest back, because as far as the world of podcasting and radio shows, and this is one of the guys that I most definitely look up to with all his podcast work, and I enjoy all the ones that he's on. And I've been wanting to get him back on, but he runs sometimes a tight schedule.
None of the time to change your mind. So we will welcome Rob.
What's going on, fellas?
Rob Yox
How you doing?
Full Spectrum Universe.
Hey, John. John's in here. He's saying hey,
it's an honor to be here, guys, and I appreciate you saying that, Ernie. We do a lot of work with it, but having people like you that we talk to all the time, and Dave too, it really makes a community out of it, and we're all getting our chops up and getting our game to that next level. And I think it's phenomenal, because I love this show. I love what you guys do. And I look up to you guys just the same way I guess you look up to me. So it's kind of a revolving door, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Before Rob, I'm not cutting into your time, but I just want to take 20 seconds before we get started and just send out some love, some thoughts and prayers to all the police that have been shot over the past week.
It's been getting stupid.
Especially the 3 firefighters in Baltimore City that lost their life, and for the one that miraculously recovered from life support and is now at home.
Yep.
I mean,
the building collapsed on 3 firefighters here in Baltimore during a 3-alarm blaze, I think it was.
Yeah.
And row home completely engulfed and just collapsed on them.
Yeah. So it's been a rough week for the first responders. I just had someone message me a little while ago. Last night while we were asleep, there was an incident here in the county that Dave and I live in. A suspect was shot, cops in critical condition, so we're waiting on that info. But just thoughts and prayers to all the officers that were shot and their family and friends and coworkers, and our thoughts are with you.
Absolutely agree, man. It's terrible. What's going on out there is terrible, and not to get political or anything, but
it's like a war.
It is, and that's another reason why I respect you so much too, Ernie. Is what you do is just incredible, and I back the Blue 110%. We've got family out there, and it really is disconcerting and in the sense of society of where that's going. But I truly believe that we're at this precipice now where this is going to be one of those moments that we transcend, hopefully, past it, and don't let these things hinder us from moving forward from this, right? Like, not hinder us in that sense, but to have that combative nature with each other. We should be loving each other and looking out for the people who are looking out for us, and keeping it safe for us to walk the streets at night and things like that. So I really,
and it's
my heart
funny,
goes out to all of them.
Because you say, like, you started off with what brings us together as a community. And it goes to show you where just the people in the paranormal community and the paranormal family, how far that all of us reach each other. Because any time of the night, trust me, any time of the night, anywhere close to where Dave and I are at or where I work, when something goes down, you believe the messages that come into my phone. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah,
hey,
actually,
are you
Peggy
around?
was asking about you this morning.
Yeah,
and she was like, "The Ernie work?" I'm like, "No, he works down." So
it just goes to show how far the love reaches. The type of people that are in the paranormal community, just how far everything goes just beyond paranormal, So, Mr.
Absolutely.
Rob, what has been going on your end, my friend?
Well, I mean, so much. You guys know I started in the paranormal community with podcasting. We started with paranormal types of podcasts, and I've kind of worked my way not out of it, but kind of had one foot in that community where you don't see me as much anymore, and sort of went into the history and consciousness and spirituality realm. But it's all relative to me. Like I have just as much love for the paranormal as I do for all those other subjects, and I think it's all connected, and it's kind of like a full circle. And,
There you go.
talking about what you were talking about with, with the police officers and the way society is right now, I want to touch back on society itself and show that I truly believe through my research that there is this veil that is thinning between us and that paranormal or spiritual realm. And it's boding for more evidence. It's boding, especially in the paranormal community, for more encounters, and it's also boding for more of these moments that where your heart stops for a second, and then you almost see your breath, and now almost more like a full body apparition comes to you in that sense.
Mhm.
But there's so much more contact between the physical and the non-physical now, and it's becoming a trend. And from researching and watching the paranormal community and how many people have the ability to get on a show and show their evidence and podcasts and all of the great stuff that we see, and then being on the consciousness side and the kind of the spiritual side, and how they talk about these prophecies where it kind of foretold of this time, this coming
Right.
time where our souls or consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is expanding into that universe more, that spiritual realm. And I've seen an uptick in evidence and people having actual contact that you look at it and you go, like, I'm sweating watching it. Like, that's crazy. Like, so I really think that there is this blending of realms right now, and it's really cool to
So
see.
let me ask you a question. So you said that there's been an uptick in evidence. What do you think is actually causing that uptick?
That's that veil thinning. I really think that us figuring out these these deceptions or these things that are happening within society, and I'm not going to go into the political stuff, but it does have something to do with it. But getting over that moment of worrying about the future or what happened in the past and kind of being in this now gives us this extra perception awareness, which a lot of mediums have already tapped into. And that's how they're able. I truly, this is just my belief. This isn't science or anything like that, but this is my own theories. I really think that these mediums have this ability to shut out everything else and
Mhm.
just be in that moment and feel the differences in energies that are fluctuating, which in
And
turn gives them that look onto the other side.
and the thing is, and I'm sure we've encountered, and I'm sure you have, and everyone else watching. How many times do you tell someone, yeah, we got this event this weekend, or my radio shows this weekend? Well, what's it about? Paranormal. I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe in ghosts. But people don't realize, and I love it with the skeptics, is
I love
the people
skeptics.
don't realize it's so much deeper than I saw a ghost or I want to see a ghost. And this Friday, I'll be doing a seminar um, concerning my book, and everything in it.
Congratulations on that, by
Right.
the way.
What's that?
Congratulations on that,
Oh,
by the
thank
way.
you.
It's awesome.
But for those that have read it or heard me speak about it, the spirituality side of everything is what led me into paranormal, because when I was young and I read about all these things, and I read about spirit visitation and angels and all that stuff, you know paranormal wasn't a household everyday word.
Right.
And I did a lot of research on people seeing religious figures, religious icons, what they believed was angels and signs and prophetic visions. And then as the time went on and the shows started getting popular and people started investigating, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is, to me, this is one and the same, you know, and it snowballed from there. And to go along with what you're saying, Rob, it's just people don't understand the extent of this field and where it branches off at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
When you for the first time in your life, you see an apparition in front of you, that's when you kind of go, what that ghost hunting is cool when you hear the voices and you get the EVPs, but when you see a free floating apparition down the hall in front of you,
all right.
and you're sitting there going, picture, picture, picture.
Like, see, my I forget what chapter number, but the chapter in the book was called "They Saw the Priest," and the very first time I ever saw a full-bodied apparition that I thought was an actual person, I was 11 years old in the basement of my church, and I saw a priest, and that's how the story kicks off. And you're exactly right, you know. But fortunate thing with me is my whole career, you know, or whatever in this field started in religion and started in spirituality. And then, you know, like I said, just as time went on, you know, in paranormal, you know, like every other person in the world is into the paranormal, then I start, you know, putting the pieces together. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute here. I think this is the same thing.
So, Rob, how did you get started in it?
Through history, actually. It's gonna be a wild conversation, but it's the history that got me into paranormal, right? So, and this is actually gonna go back to my original point with the thinning of the veil and why we're in this cyclistic. It's like a cycle. And if we look at like ancient Rome and ancient Greece, they talk about this time where they were able to basically visit the underworld or the abstract world that was not of their own. It was a different world where essentially they could go and commune with different entities that live down there. So it, this to me shows that there was spots on the planet that potentially, you know, a lot of it is myth, but what we know to be myth now as researchers and historians is actually more factual than fictional, to be quite honest about it, with different entities and different types of beings that we see that live. It's just it has a lot to do with like evolution and things like that. There's so much to it, but essentially I looked into history, and a lot of the really rich historical places or stories, they have these traumas within them, right? Something had happened, whether it was either a major battle, it was the house where 17 people decided that they were going to kill this one person, and then that person supposedly roamed the halls of that place for so long, and eventually a lot of the stories that I was reading or these histories, these ancient civilizations, they all had aspects of ethereal spirits that either came to talk to them, visit them, give them information. And that kind of took me along the lines of ufology and paranormal in the same breath, because a lot of where that stemmed from for me was this ancient astronaut theory that the earth was being visited by these entities that were not of this earth. And extraterrestrial could be, you know, something that is not from this dimension, this world, whatever the case may be. It could live
Now,
underneath it.
let me interrupt you. I'm going along with what you're saying. I have a question for you. Like you said, at the point in time we're in now, you feel that the veil might be getting thinner. Do you think a part of that could be because people are becoming more educated?
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of people, and here's the thing, like when we talk about spirituality, there's an aspect of religion to it, but sometimes it's not that mainstay religion that you would think of, Judaism,
Mhm.
Christianity, Islam. There's a lot of aspects that go along, and it's all introspectional. You're all looking into yourself. And I think when we start to assess what our potential is, it gives us that glimpse or this actual awareness of so much more than what we see in this 3D kind of world, right?
Right.
And essentially, I think it is the knowledge of the different practices that brought these different societies to believe in that veil or that past the veil area. And there's so many different ways we could look at it, because it's to us, it's what we manifest, right? Like if we're talking about something and we think it and keep thinking it, sometimes it breeds it into existence.
Uh-huh.
But
Mhm.
when we look at these different societies that were in history and we look at what they saw as a dynamic for their specific world and how there was the heavens there was the regular world, and then there was the underworld. And
Right.
that is the format across all of these ancient civilizations. And
Now,
when we see verification like that, that shows that there's something at play that's either telling them that that's what it is, or that people are understanding the world that they live in.
now, Dave and I, we've had, and this is right up your alley, Rob. Dave and I have had many cases, excuse me, private cases we were called to, where we believe that the client actually manifested the activity
Themselves.
unknowingly themselves. You know,
Absolutely.
Mike King, you know, everyone knows Mike King. Mike King brought a case last year, or yeah, it was right
No, it's been
before.
2 years now.
Has it been
It's been 2
2
years.
years?
Dear Lord.
It was right before Christmas. Yeah. Well, anyway, so anyhow,
Before COVID.
yeah, it was yeah. So anyhow, Mike brought us his case, and he actually showed up, and you know, we had to bring in like some spiritual healers and stuff.
Yeah, we brought in
because,
some demonologists,
yeah,
and who ended up telling us flat out, because we could only go so far, but we
Right.
figured out that the woman was manifesting it even in a back bedroom, middle winter time, flies everywhere. She had all these fly strips hanging out, flies everywhere, like dead meat hanging in there. That's what it smelled like.
Wow.
But there was nothing. And she had a little girl who was 2 years old. It was affecting as well. Well, you know, I'm a lay minister, so I actually used some holy water, put it on the child's hands as the child didn't react, which was great, which means it's not coming from or through or to the child. But
it was only when the mother was holding the child would anything affect her.
so I actually put my hand while mom was holding it, and I kind of went like this, and that's where the child reacted.
The thing that spooked me, and being a very religious Roman Catholic, the child was sitting there with the mother, and she was a little fussy, and I was like, you know, it's okay, it's okay. Well, she didn't know I had a blessed crucifix that I got in my hand without her knowing it.
Right.
And I repeated my same thing, and I was like, it's okay, it's okay. And I had the crucifix in my. This kid went
Jumped out of her skin,
bananas.
and it was only while mom was holding her.
Right.
It felt the child felt the energy. It felt the
Yeah.
energy coming off of the crucifix.
Now, I know we're jumping all over the place, but Rob, what is your take on, and I'm sure you've seen like the ancient writings or the ancient carvings where it'll look like Egyptian time, yet in the far background will look like a UFO. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean like when we're looking at hieroglyphs, like in
So
the
you have hieroglyphics,
yeah.
but you have like what looks like UFOs and spacemen.
I
on the
think that they're
hieroglyph.
depicting what they saw, and I think that they actually saw that. And I'm going to tell you this story too, just to get to that, just to go back to manifesting real quick. I have been in ufology for about 15 years. Never have I ever had contact until, and this is something that I think that I manifested. And it's crazy that you say that, you believe that the people manifested, because there is a link to that.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I've always tried to get my fiance into this type of study, or interested in what we do paranormal wise and ufology wise, and just to go into ancient histories with me. But she's got her own things that she does for her hobbies, and it's not mine, right? So I said to myself many times, imagine we had like a shared experience. Maybe then it would like wake her up, like this is really happening out there. And I'll tell you, sure as shit, we did. We did. I was doing an event called um Total Disclosure. It was right around the time that the government was coming out with their disclosure packet on UFOs, because people were asking about it. So we thought that that was never going to amount to anything great. So we did our own disclosure by getting some of the best and most knowledgeable speakers of contact and experiencers into an event. So 2 weeks before that event, I go outside with her to smoke a cigarette, and all of a sudden I look up and I see this thing. It looks like it's bigger than an actual star would be, but it's that far away. And it goes for about, I want to say, maybe 10 feet, stops dead, turns around and bolts back the other way and disappears. And then around my house, I counted in 20 minutes, there was 8 different aircraft that did a triangle pattern around my house, and I live nowhere near an airport. So something happened, and she
Now,
saw it. And I said to her, I said, "Did you see that?" And she says, I saw it. I don't know what it is." But I think that I manifested that into reality because I wanted her to so badly be involved in this community like we are.
Nice.
I've had one time where I saw something unexplained. Um, I s- I saw it in 1987. I watched, I don't know, one of the unknown show, the million shows that are on Travel Channel, and on two different shows they were interviewing police. And in 1995, on the other side of the country, an officer saw the same thing that I saw. Now, furthermore, in talking with a friend of mine who's a medium in Pennsylvania, she had the same encounter in 2008, I believe. Now, I'm not saying it was ET, but it was a flying object that I saw. And when I watched that show where that officer saw it in 1990, it was two officers saw it in 1995. I almost passed out because it was the exact same thing. And my friend, she told me her story of her encounter. It wasn't even the topic. She just started talking about it. And as she started explaining it, I started describing it. And she was like, "You saw this before?" And I was like, "Yeah, in 1987."
Wow.
I have no idea what it was. And but
Well, I mean, the government's now releasing the videos. I mean, from the airplane. I was on an aircraft carrier, U.S. Dwight D. Eisenhower, when I was in
Right.
the Navy, and I can tell you, I've seen some of the video that comes in that nobody wants to talk about. Okay, and some of it hasn't been released, so I'm not going to talk about those videos. But I can talk about. You see the Tic Tac video, yes?
yeah,
Yeah, of course.
How do you explain something that goes from 0 to over 1,200 knots in a second?
We
We don't
can't.
have a human aircraft that does that.
No. One of the things that I think about the government video that really gets my goat is it's always a night vision. And if you look at an afterburner and night vision, it looks almost the same. Like
right.
a lot of those videos that the government puts out, they put them out in a specific way
Mhm.
because they don't want you to get, they want to be able to debunk it if they have to.
Yep.
So you're right, but there are videos out there that are just like so wild. You're like, that can't be anything other. And here's the thing about it: people may think that they're not of this world, but they may not be of this universe, of this dimension. They could be not of this time. They could be on the other side of Antarctica, like Admiral Byrd. Do you remember? You guys remember Admiral Byrd came out a long time ago and said he went to Antarctica, and then he went on the other side, and there was three other continents down there that nobody can go to, and there's technologically advanced. When we see UFOs in the night sky, that's what we're seeing. It's not out of this world. It's more on the other side of the world. But that has a lot to do with like flat Earth theory and things like that, which I'm not too big on. But I mean, there's something out there
She went
because
on Route 66.
once we went to the moon, if we went to the moon, I'm going to say if for the conspiracy theorists out there, but once we went to the
That would be
moon,
me. That
I
would be
am
me.
too. Listen, I am too.
All
But
right.
once we went to the
I
moon, it upticked like
I'm going to
crazy.
admit one thing. I saw a picture that cannot physically be possible. That's why I think it's a soundstage, because they have a picture that has a hillside and you see the Earth. Then in the next picture, you see the lunar lander in the same hillside, and the lunar lander has 4 different shadows. If you look, you can see the 4. You have one sort, possibly 2 sources of light when you're standing there. How can you have 4 separate shadows?
You can't. And then here's the other part, right? This is what gets me. We went to the moon, we came back. And then for how many years did we not go? What did NASA say? What was their explanation? We lost the technology to make that possible. If that's not the biggest like dead giveaway, I don't know what is. Like, how can you? I believe we went to the moon, but it was not televised.
And for those that didn't believe those pictures that Dave and I posted, I really was on a plane and I really did fly. Rob, that was my biggest, next to snakes, that was my biggest phobia that I could pass
Really?
out just thinking about it. And
Yeah.
I did it.
My
Yeah,
uncle's the same
I
way,
had
man.
a Thorazine ready, just in case.
Nice big shot of it. Don't worry, Ernie. Just close your eyes real quick. No, but it's crazy, and
18.
you know, getting back to the veil thinning, and the reason why I think it is because I truly think that the earth itself goes through cycles. And I think we're on one of these cycles now where it's called, if you look at something that the ancient Indians, or like from India, not Native Americans, but ancient Indian cultures talks about, it's called a Yuga cycle. And it's every 26,500 years. And every 12,000 years in that Yuga cycle, there's some kind of tribulation that man goes through. And we're either sent back to the Stone Age or we become Atlantis, that kind of stuff. And we're actually at the end of one of those cycles now, and we're about to go into a new one. So I think there's a lot to do with it too. I mean, I
Yeah,
could pull prophecy from
surprised
the
if it-
Hopi and everything else talking about this split in energies, and some people are going to go one way, some people are going to go the other way. I mean, I've done so much research on this time period right now. It's just wild. It's wild.
Keeping it kind of simple, I think. I mean, if you just throw a thought at what you're saying, Rob, I think that people outside of residual haunts, I think people have paranormal experiences because the spirits be recognized or want to be
Yeah.
heard or want to be whatever.
Absolutely.
And I think, just to make it nice and simple, I think now that so many people are educated, and if you take from 50 years ago till now, how much energy and how much thought is placed on the afterlife. It
Very
could
much so.
actually be causing, I think, the veil too thin, but also supplying that energy. And the undead now is like, hey, man, this is our chance to shine. The world's listening. So it makes that communication a little bit easier because people are so hip to all the different ways that your senses can
They're
pick
going to
up
go off
on,
screaming at you
that
because
someone
they see
else,
a ghost.
that someone else is
Yeah.
there.
You know what? If I die, I'm going to come on you, and I'm going to try to make sure I'm here. I'm going to be screaming. I'll be pounding on things. I want to get your attention, and if you ignore me, I'm going to start throwing things. I'm here.
Well,
Hey.
we're gonna, when you come back and haunt us, Dave, we're gonna get a nice big extra large box and some salt, and
Yeah, we're gonna trap you in it.
that box. Yeah.
Hey,
And then we're gonna throw rocks into the box and be like, "Oh, watch it go right through you." No, I think you're right, and I think that technology and a lot. If we're gonna get scientific about it, we can get scientific, and we know that energy, which is our soul, never dies. It's only transferred. You can't destroy
Absolutely.
energy. So,
Exactly.
with all these technological devices that are now readily available in everybody's pocket, in the home, I think it gives credence to a lot of this extra energy that's floating around in the air, which can be manipulated, and these entities can now use it to communicate in some way.
And keep this in mind too, Rob. Back when you were a kid, and all of us, I'm sure everyone has heard from that family member a ghost story.
Always.
I think I saw grandmom. I think I smelled granddad's putt or whatever. But the difference between 50 years ago and now, back then, people used to just basically sit around and wait. Where now people are aggressively and scientifically and spiritually going after, they're not just sitting around waiting and hoping. They're out there, looking.
Trying to find it.
Right.
And also with the fact of like mass media and these sites like Facebook and Instagram, they can distribute that evidence and it makes it more readily available for everybody else. And when that happens, you light the fire under somebody else to do the same, if not aggressively go and hunt it. So it's sort of a domino effect too. And it makes this industry or this community that much more vibrant on a daily basis because the people who are that vested into it and they're that into what they do can go and talk to other like-minded people, which in turn creates that excitement for it too, which again goes and manifests it because they want to see it. There's more people out there looking for it, and that's the uptick. And it could be a purposeful dissolving of that veil, or that thinning of the veil, and I think it is, but I think there's so many different factors that go into it too. Like, I mean, when I used to talk to Melinda about what she used to be able to do and how she did it, I mean, I have tarot cards now, and I can do the tarot like she does. I don't have the same ability that she does to be able to just speak to ghosts as she would, or entities on the other side, or I can't do that. But w- dreams, like I told you guys before, is just one of the ways that I kind of communicate. And I told you the story backstage before we started about my grandfather, and that to me, I mean, I woke up in like tears because it felt so real. It was so visceral that I could feel the hug that he gave me. And I told
Nice.
you, I think he was looking at me and he didn't want me to know he was there.
And see, you got to look at it like this, Rob. Your granddad may have wanted and did come to you. And since you were asleep, okay, at a certain point in your period of sleep is when your body's at the most relaxed. And it makes it easier for someone to reach out to you because of the relaxed state that your mind and body's in. Also, based on the way he came to you, like you told us backstage, he may have presented himself like that so you knew that it was more than just a dream, that it
Very
was for
much
real.
so. And
And
the first thing I thought too, and not to cut you off, but the first thing I thought was like, why would he come to me that way? And then I talked to my godmother, and she said that's the one thing that he used to love to do more than anything else.
so, and plus that shows that it's for real. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, um, also a lot of, like, I think in my case, when I had that same experience with my grandfather, I think he came to me when I was sleeping so that he wouldn't scare me.
That
And
too.
sometimes the spirits will do that, and that goes right along with the relaxation period that a spirit will come to because they don't want to frighten you. If you wake up in the morning and you go in the kitchen to make your coffee and turn around and granddad's standing there, you might go into cardiac arrest. You know what
There
I mean?
goes the coffee cup.
Yeah,
That coffee
exactly.
cup's gone.
But when you're at that peaceful state in your sleep, they can come to, and it's not alarming. And I think that's why a lot of spirits will come back to people that they want to see or check on, when they're asleep, like, just for the simple reasons they don't frighten them.
Right. And the thing about it too is when he came to me in that Santa suit, it was like if I was to imagine him, I wouldn't think about him like that because I always knew it was him. A lot of the other kids around the lake didn't know it was him, but I knew it was him the whole time. So I wouldn't have pictured him in a Santa Claus outfit if I was thinking of my grandfather because I had so many other memories of him that was not of that time. So
Yeah,
he did that as an indicator, like this is what I like, not you, but you're gonna, it made it that much more that it was on his accord and not mine.
right. And see, here's another example of going along with, sometimes the spirits may do things to authenticate that it's a real visitation. Um, in 2001, when my best friend Eric passed away, he's in a few chapters of my book. One is actually about his death. But the night he passed away, when I went to sleep that night, as soon as I started to go to sleep, I immediately started dreaming of Eric. But how I knew it was real, 2 years prior to Eric's death, I had lost a baseball cap that I wore religiously. It was a New York Yankees, blue in front, white in the back,
Of
with
course, it
the
was a Yankees hat.
with the white lettering. And as soon as I dozed off and Eric appeared to me the night that he passed away, he was standing there laughing at me, and he had my Yankee hat on.
Wow.
Now, that Yankee hat had not been on my mind, like I said, for 2 years. That hat was gone. I forgot about it. I tore apart every place I ever been to try to find his hat. But for some reason, when I saw him, I had only dozed off for 30 seconds, and he had that hat on. And that to me showed that it was real, because that was Eric's way of saying, hey, this isn't just a dream. Look, I got your hat on to prove it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's just
Absolutely.
the way I look at things.
I agree with you. And the other part about it was when I woke up from this dream, it wasn't like one of those stiff transitions where you're like, "Oh man," it was so like you were so asleep. I felt like I was like half awake, like
Yeah.
almost half awake during it too. Like because when I came out of it, and I did have tears coming out of my eyes because of course when I hugged him and he said I told him I missed him, I was crying, and so was he.
Right.
But you know, it was not like that it was a quick transition, like boom, like okay, I'm awake. Like I did just doze off, not like I was
It was
deep.
like he actually walked away from you, and
Right.
you was still partially in the moment.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It blew my mind. Like this has never happened to me like that. I've dreamed of family members and I knew that they were communicating with me in some kind of way, but this was like I could feel him grab me and
Was
like
this
hold me. It
was
was the
this
craziest thing.
was this dream recent, Rob?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
This is what I want you to do. I'm not sure of your religious beliefs, and I'm not going to ask you about them. But when you before you go to sleep tonight, just talk to your grandfather and wish him well, and let him know that you're well, and let him know that you enjoyed seeing him, and see if anything else happens.
I definitely will. And you know what was crazy too is I couldn't tell anybody about it for like 2 or 3 days.
Right.
That's how like for me it was like such a moment that
Exactly.
I couldn't even speak about it because it
Right.
was like throwing me back into it, and it was that real in my mind. And this is partially another reason why I think that this is sort of a trend because I've been hearing about these instances, not so much dream, but people being able to literally like feel the presence of their loved ones more and more and more, but not in a way that like I know they're here, like in a way like they touched my shoulder and I felt them squeeze. And,
Nice.
and that to me is like something's going on and I have to investigate it. I'm going to keep going, but and I really think that there has been an uptick in paranormal activity around the world.
And I do. I agree. Everybody,
Yeah.
when we had Scott Porter on that night, and we were backstage after the show talking to him. Remember, we talked for almost an hour, and we were going into, just since like the whole COVID thing, how just the activity all over the world has picked up.
Yeah,
and we rambled on for about an hour. We were backstage talking, and then we were on the air talking about
I'm glad though because it confirms what we're talking about even more for me. It solidifies it for me, and even that the fact that I had an encounter with some kind of craft outside. I mean, I've gone 40 years talking about these things, and or 40 years of my life, and talking about it for the last 15, but never encountered anything. Always met those people who did, and then it struck me as weird because a lot of those people who have that contact starts at a young age, and their fathers had it, their grandparents had it. It's a hereditary thing, and
Yeah.
there's not really that kind of contact in my family. But
I was going to
uh,
say maybe it's no different than some of the mediums we work with, Rob, are third and fourth generation mediums. Maybe the whole extraterrestrial side of the spectrum works the same way.
They pick up on something in that family tree.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of old world stuff because, and if you understand too, if you're going back into like ancient cultures, they were so much more superstitious, and they really truly believed that things were going to come out and either kill them or
Yeah.
hurt them if they didn't do specific rituals. Like it's crazy.
Oh yeah. So I remember, back when I was probably around 1986, while I was on Dwight D. Eisenhower. You're out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, just kind of looking up, dark as all get out. There's no light anywhere except from stars. And when you see something just kind of filter real slow, and then take off like a bat out of hell, but there's nothing, on CIC. There's nothing on radar, surface, subsurface, or aerial. You can't see anything.
I was going to say, I bet you saw a lot of stuff under the water as well.
Now, we have had a couple contacts, but they were identified as either Russian or Scandinavian objects. Got to be real careful what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But you know, it's just when you're standing on a flight deck and just watching things that you can't explain, like literally just ding, 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 zip, and it goes from 0 to, oh God, where the hell did you go? How do you explain that? And this is back in the 80s. So,
Even ufology was an under the table type of thing. And
and it,
it's crazy how society does that. Now all this stuff is coming up, right? And now people have a better understanding of all of these different subjects, which in turn makes us more, I guess, I want to say more enlightened in the sense of what could the potentiality be of all these other things that are happening that weren't
But look how
mainstream or
many,
aware.
if you think about it, like for the paranormal side of it, think about it logically. How many things that occur in society today wouldn't be acceptable 40 years ago? And paranormal was kind of along those
yeah,
like
taboo subject.
lines.
Yeah.
And, like as the world progressed, we've changed and became very diverse on things. And,
Yeah.
it's just such a multicultural of difference. And maybe that it's just easier now that the paranormal is viewed differently and accepted differently. And my thought, I always go back to education because I'm one of them bookworms, and I just think education, 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 and we're at the point now where it's just about like everybody in existence has something they've experienced
Once
or
you
read
see it, you
about,
can't
and
unsee it.
yeah, and I
You
think it
can't
just
unsee it.
makes it that much
Yep.
easier, or makes the spirit realm feel that much more accepted. Or even so, 50 years ago, if there was some sort of encounter, everyone's first thought went that it was evil, it was demonic, somebody's possessed, and now we know the truth.
Right.
So I think it
Or
just
brush
makes
it under the table because the stigmas that come along with you seeing something like that, they're going to think you're crazy.
right, right.
The
Let's
priest
throw
is,
one
like you
thank
said, the
God
priest
in
is
the
going to be
back.
right around the corner coming to give you an exorcism, or they're going to
For,
think that it's
now it's
completely on the
you're
wrong side.
now if you're considered crazy if you haven't experienced something, it's almost the exact like, what do you mean you haven't experienced anything? You went to Gettysburg and walked around there for 2 days and
Didn't see
didn't,
anything.
come on
Didn't
now.
even feel a cold spot. What are you
Yeah,
talking about? Like, no, you're right though, and to me, that just shows that you're right. We have progressed, and that progression now has turned into curiosity. And how
yeah,
far does it truly go? And we're
right,
exploring the outer boundaries of what would have been complete nutville 50 years ago. Now we're
exactly.
exploring that stuff. Like now we know that even Tesla was trying to create this device that could talk to spirits and things like that. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. It's like with electromagnetic frequency, and there's a science behind it. It
Yeah.
went from being something that was so taboo that you could barely get anybody to admit that they saw it, to now we're trying to perfect different practices to make that contact more readily available.
See, that's like my whatever that was that I saw in the sky in 1987. At the time, one of my best friends was with me, and we encountered this thing for like an hour and a half. We actually followed it and was tracking it and watching it. And I wound up linking back up with him in 2009. Okay. And because I ain't seen him since we graduated high school. So, of course, I brought it up, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that. That wasn't me. I'm like, come
Compartmentalized.
on, man. Really? Like, really? And so he denies it, but
Wow.
I knew something happened because that night, it was a Sunday night, and we used to go, we were still in school. We used to go, we had a dollar movie theater, okay, where the movies that were 2 months old, they played for $1. So one night we was coming out of movies. I guess it was about 9:30 at night. We were going home. Soon as we exited out of the movie theater parking lot, traffic was at a dead stop. And we was like, man, this must be one hell of a horrific accident. Well, it was to the point where people were getting out of their cars. So of course we had to do that too. We want to see what's going on. that is when this thing was in the sky. And it was to the point, Rob, where traffic in, this way and this way was at a dead stop and people were out of their cars.
My sister had an
So I knew it
experience
was-
like that.
Yeah, I know it wasn't just my friend and I that saw it, because traffic was stopped for God knows how long. And then, like I said, we wound up following it. And we actually went. It's so funny how this all ties together. And I'm not doing this to keep plugging, but we went to the photo that's on the cover of my book. That's where we went. But we were on the other side of the park because it overlooked Baltimore City. And we sat up there and we watched it go out and over. And
Oh, wow.
it was crazy, man. But
That's
yeah,
wild.
my friend denies it. It wasn't him. So
Well, there's two different types of people, right? There's the people like yourself and me who are intrigued by those things, and now we have to take it a step further. We have to
Right.
understand it. And there's people who don't, when they don't understand things, they compartmentalize it and push it away or push it down, and they say, "Well, I don't know what happened, but nor do I really care." Like, there's a lot of people who aren't so in the moment. They're too worried about what next Tuesday is going to bring, or
Yeah.
who smacked me in the face last Thursday, and now what's going to happen next Tuesday. Like, that's what I mean by the now, and that's something that I feel that a lot of people are starting to perfect, is this moment where everything else just falls away, and you can hyper focus on one point, whether it's in front of you in the computer and you're researching something, or it's tough to describe, but you'll feel it when you're in this moment right now.
Yeah.
And enjoying. And I've tried to make my brain recognize those moments more and more and more. And I feel like my life has kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not running around at New York pace, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And it's a lot more like I'm a lot freer than I was even 5 years ago from it.
God bless.
Our friend Carmen commented, she was 4 years old in 1987. I was 18.
I was 16.
No, you're a year older than me.
You're up because I was born in 67. So
I was 6.
You were 20, Dave.
Oh, 4 years. I know I went backwards. I took that. Never mind. I went from her birthday.
He's you know what he's doing. He's carrying a 2.
No, I was 16 when I was born. Right, I was 16 when I was born. That's
Now,
why I was.
think of it like this, Rob. I'm not trying to change skeptics into believers and trying to push my views and opinions on anyone, but we've come across so many skeptics that they've told, have you ever experienced anything? No, man. And then they'll tell us something. We're like, that could have been something paranormal. But here's my thing. Imagine if everyone had an open mind to the many possibilities out there of apparitions, things in the sky. If everyone kept an open mind and didn't think like you were just describing, how many pieces of valuable evidence or pieces to the puzzle have they missed? Like, for example,
I get you.
Take for example, say, I don't know, your parents or grandparents in the 50s or 60s may have spent a family outing in Gettysburg and took photographs with whatever camera of the times, but wasn't hip to the paranormal side of Gettysburg. If you got those pictures in your hand now that are 50, 60 years old and you went through them with a fine-tooth comb, what's the chances they missed something?
100% you'd find something.
Think of some photos from way back when, from a haunted location or somewhere around Skinwalker Ranch or Area 51. Imagine going through photos like that skeptics took, that just threw them in the shoebox with the rest of the family photos.
I would love to go to Skinwalker Ranch. I'm sorry.
We would have confirmed a lot, and things would be a lot different. And see the crazy part about that is that it would be such a free flow of this evidence that we think that we need. And for me personally, I don't need anybody's evidence. What I've seen is what I know, and what I know is my truth. But you're right. We would be so far, I guess, we may be even having sit downs with these people on the other side at this point.
Right. And see,
You know what I mean?
think of it like there's no two people in this field more than Dave and I that tear into people's evidence that they send us. We're going, you gotta
Overly
be
critical. You have to
gotta
be.
be authentic.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
look at it like this. For example, we have these two studio lights right here in front of us. If one of them went out right now, we could explain 101 ways why that light went out.
Yep.
But look at it from an open mind. And we have no way of proving it. But like you said, I believe in people's souls. Other people see it as energy. What is that energy going to affect the most easiest? Something electrical.
Mhm.
Of
So
course.
even though I can sit here and give you 101 reasons why that light went out or flickered, maybe that was the easiest way for that spirit to do that, and that was their sign.
If you look at
But
some
the
of our
thing
past
is,
episodes,
we can't prove it right now.
we have a computer. I have a computer set up right behind that I do my work at. We randomly, that computer, and right now, like if you look, it's dormant. It's not on because I'm not working. But us on the show and we're talking about certain things, it would randomly come on. And we're both sitting there going, in the middle of the show, it just came on.
Yeah.
Somebody telling you it's taking it out of sleep mode. All it's doing is moving that mouse just a hair.
The funny thing, what it did was we had Josh Hurd on from Malvern Manor.
Oh my God.
And that whole network of 4 screens popped on over there. Now, if Dave goes over and it comes to life, they come on. They go through a transition period, then they go back to sleep.
Right.
As soon as they came on, Rob, and we acknowledge, oh shit, they just came on, they went off just like that. Everything went dead just like that.
And the funny part is, go back in our archive, look at the one. So we're sitting here, and I had cabinet doors that kept opening upstairs. Some things were going on in my life that really I had a lot of stress over. And it sounded like literally as we're sitting here, somebody kicks in my front door.
We thought we were getting raided.
Yeah,
seriously.
I thought the police were hitting my ass.
Because even Josh, he was like where you're at, and he's like,
what was that?
What was that? We're like,
what happened?
Hold on.
Well, the thing is, we had actually set up a camera because how often my cabinet doors kept opening and closing. So I came down here to get set up for the show. Ernie looked in the kitchen. All the cabinet doors were closed. Turned around, hit the record button, and came downstairs. So we're sitting there talking to Josh. Boom! I jump out of the show going, something's going on. What the hell happened? I'm looking around. It literally sounded like somebody kicked my door in. Couldn't find anything wrong.
But the funny thing is, I went up to hit record on the camera. Okay. The camera's facing the kitchen. I walk in the kitchen. I look around. Everything's intact.
The way it's supposed to be.
I walk to the camera, hit record, bang a right, and come down the steps. I didn't look back. That moment, Rob, when I stepped out of the kitchen, as I hit the record button, in that short 3-second period, them cabinet doors opened that I was unaware of. So when I stepped out of frame and hit record and got out of the way of the camera, the doors were already open. It happened that fast, and I was unaware of it.
That's the spirits playing practical jokes on y'all. They know when you're looking, man. I'm telling you, that's why people have those body cams on the front and back now, because if I was a spirit and I was a smart ass, I would be doing the same thing. Let them get around that corner. So boop, boop, gotcha.
Exactly what it did.
So much fun.
When I got up there was nothing wrong, but I found the cabinet doors open. I'm thinking, great, we caught it on camera. We play the video back.
It was already open.
They were already open when he got there.
Now, to solidify what we're saying, I was in Fort Mifflin one night, and Dave was at home. So I called Dave on video, and he was in the kitchen making coffee. So he's holding his phone like this, talking to me. I can see his cabinets. Well, I could hear a woman's voice. And I said, Dave, who's at your house? And I heard it twice. On the second time I brought it to his attention, he's like, I'm here alone. My daughter don't come till tomorrow.
Yep, she's here tomorrow.
So he walked all through the house, Rob, showing me that no one was there. Their beds, closets, everything. He goes back to get his coffee, got the camera the same position. The cabinet door was open, and he was unaware. And I was like, Dave,
behind you. I'm like,
you might want to turn around. So as he was
crazy.
walking through, showing me that no one was in the house, that door opened.
and I actually have it on camera. So just to show, I have a camera. He finally talked me into. I don't like investigating my own house. I hate it. He wants me to do some things with her back here, and I'm not. No. But I set up a camera pointing at my kitchen. I set up another camera pointing at camera one across me and across the couch where I'm sitting watching TV. So now, if you know my house, I have a kitchen like here, and then you come out and there's a dining room here that extends in the living room, and then the rest of the house goes this way down to the bathroom and bedroom and all that. So think about it on the side. So right here is just a short out, and this is outside. So you have to go this way out of my kitchen. So I have the camera pointing into my kitchen, and then I have another camera pointing at this to show there's no shenanigans. So let it play. Somewhere along the line, I got up, went to the potty. Went into the potty, did my thing, came back, sat down. I'm watching TV. Cabinet doors are open. I'm like, when the hell did that happen? So I roll it back, and you can see me. I'm yes on the video. I'm like, yes, we've got it. I actually have posted the video up on our channel. You can see 2 views. There's one person actually like you can see a shadow. I'm like, nope. If you actually look, that's me walking by, and I broke the light, which was coming that way. So
Right.
you can tell there's no shenanigans. If you are in that area messing with something to pull a door. So I actually picked up camera one and pointed it in where the door opened
Catch
at.
it.
So there's nobody there.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And you know what's crazy too is I'm still so much paranormal that if something like that happens in my house while I'm sleeping, I have my phone on record. Like it's recording all the sound that's in the house. So the next day I'll sit there and try and figure out if I heard anything. And
there's apps. They're not created for paranormal. It's for people that have problem with snoring. But there are voice activated apps for when you go to bed.
really,
Like you can get it running, and like if you start snoring real bad, so you can hear it, like in case you go to the doc, whatever. But why wouldn't you be able to use that for the paranormal? If somebody's, you know what I mean? Somebody.
oh yeah,
So you can hear,
Yeah.
Interesting.
that's
But
crazy.
that's
much
what you ought to
fun.
do, man.
No.
You ought to take Sandra in your bedroom tonight,
No.
set her on the dresser, and put a voice activated recorder between you and Sandra.
Yeah. Or you could just put Salter on the door, you know what I mean? And just make sure your bedroom's safe.
I don't have any salt on her. I don't have her bound in any way.
No,
the case is actually open.
Yeah.
She's moved a couple times. She's been behaving the last couple weeks. Hasn't moved.
Really?
Oh yeah. She'll actually move. She's moved twice on me here and twice on my daughter.
My
And I
fiance
keep
won't let
thinking-
me have those things in the house. She's like, you
Well-
cannot have those in the house. I said, oh,
You
come
know,
on.
She doesn't have an issue. Yes, Jerry, I'm actually talking about the doll behind me. She hasn't caused anything malicious. We have a video up on our channel of us opening the box. You can actually, at one point, we're talking about it, you hear the girl giggling, and it's only Ernie, me, my dog, and the cameraman in the house. At one point, you hear a growly voice on the video that goes, it's blood, because she has blood on her front. We think she had tuberculosis. We have a history behind her. So, okay, that's what we think it is. We've accepted her. She's part of the family. So,
And
Have you seen this entity now? You've been face to face with it?
I've heard it. It's moved things, but if I see it, I've already given him fair warning. If I see something in my house,
You're gonna be stepping on clouds, huh? Running out of there on your tippy toes.
you're going to hear Scooby-Doo. Where are you?
You see the little dust cloud. Pew.
Giving the benefit of the doubt and some investigating that we've done and stuff like that. We honestly, until proven differently, we honestly don't think it's anything
Malicious.
Yeah, malicious.
I think it's the
course.
girl and her father. That's my personal opinion.
Me too.
I think what happened was she had to go into the sanatorium with him, and he had respiratory issues. I think he passed away, but unfortunately, he gave it to her along the way, and she passed away as well.
Right.
Wow.
So that's.
But we accepted her, and
Jerry, yes, we're gonna have her at all of our events.
we take her to our the Paracons that we're in. But I mean, we've accepted her and explained why we have possession and the reasons that
and we actually
and everything's been fine.
Corroborating evidence. We were at the Roundhouse down in West Virginia. We actually put her in a brand case in a closet, and we went back to our hotel room after the show. Well, they had an investigation going on in the Roundhouse, and one of our good friends, Rob, was called in by the person who was running it, Spring, because there was something
in the closet. She didn't know that Sandra, the doll, was in there. She didn't know. Her husband knew I put in there, but she didn't know.
So she brings Rob in, who's the investigator there for the night, and he opens it up and realizes what it is. He starts banging on things in the closet. Is this it? No. Is this it? No. Then he shakes her case. Is this it? That's it. So they bring her out.
Man. Did she get mad at that? Did she get mad that she was in a box in the closet?
I don't know. Well, it's really interesting because they have not only that, corroborating EVPs from that night when they were talking to her.
Wow.
And the case I had bought her was brand new. So it was an upper, lower, four corners. You put it together. There was dust that the next day in it, like dust balls in it.
Really?
Yeah.
And it was airtight.
Airtight, completely sealed.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. I mean, I would have been like, hey, you better stay down there. You better chill out. You better take it easy.
We are over our allotted time already.
Yeah, they're going to kick us.
You got it, man. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here again, guys. I love you guys to death, and I support you in everything you do.
You're going to have to come back on, man.
Whenever you need me, man, I'll be here. I always have a great time.
We'll be up in Rochester next month or March.
Yeah, March and 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Let me know. I'll try and make it out over there. I'm like above New York City, so it may be a little bit of a stretch, but I could get there by train if I have to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look up on Facebook the
Rochester Parafest.
Rochester Winter Parafest.
Winter Parafest.
Writing it down right now.
And it's in Rochester. It's actually right next to Rochester, a smaller town like Geneva or something like that.
Something like
that.
Starts
with a G.
Yeah.
It's like right next to Rochester.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah,
I know where that is. It's about 4 hours from here, north.
Man, you got to
join us,
dude. You got to try to come down, man. We'll be there from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, we're stopping on Thursday.
I'll definitely come for like a day or two. Absolutely, if I can get up there at that time. Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, John.
Actually, what we can do, man, when we broadcast live from there, we can have, if Rob's there, we'll have
bring
Rob
him on live.
We'll bring you on.
I'll make him wear deodorant.
Nice. Smelling good.
All right, Rob. Thank you for joining us. Lots of love, brother.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, fellas.
Keep in touch.
Love you guys, man. Definitely.
Oh, all right. No. I heard that, but they didn't hear it. I love you.
Great night, everybody.
All right. So basically, we got a couple things coming up down the pipe. Next couple.
Yeah.
Pam and Steve.
Yeah. February 4th. We will be at the VFW on
Dorsey
Road. Yeah, Dorsey Road. I'll be promoting my book and talking about all that. February 26th, we will be hosting an investigation at the historic 1912 Hoover House in Waynesboro.
Yeah.
And the very next night, from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Nation, we will be joined by Sherry DeBenedetti on Step Into the Paranormal. We're looking forward to having our friend Sherry on.
Yep.
What do we got? March, man. We got
the big kahuna coming.
Yeah, man. The big kahuna.
Yeah, apparently we're the big thing. Or they have us in the center of the poster. I'm excited.
That's just because our picture was bigger. I was
going to say that's because I'm just fatter than everybody else. That's what it is.
But we'll be at the Rochester Winter Parafest.
Yeah. With WLFE DB Radio.
Now, May, we have a 3-day Paracon, the 20th through the 22nd. I will post the information when I get it, because what happened was this was scheduled. It was a 3-day Paracon. It was scheduled for last year.
And it got cut before COVID, and it got
canceled. It got postponed. So it is this year, May 20, 21, and 22. It's in either Virginia or West Virginia. I forget. The lady, Miss Jennifer Kennedy, is going to be emailing us all the information.
We got to run it. we're running out of time, dude.
All right. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Hope you can stop by Friday night at the VFW and show some love.
Join us.
I'm going to need it.
See you guys.
You've been listening to Step Into the Paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler. Thank you for listening, and listen in next week for another topic and more great guests right here on WLFE DB Radio Network.